Christianity originated in a land of hope, faith, and passion, Palestine. Despite its current status as a conflicted territory, Palestine stands as a symbol of the origins of Christianity, a region that has been a cradle of faith for centuries. This is why Palestinian Christians are recognized as the oldest Christian community in the world, with roots tracing back to the very beginnings of the faith. But how is the continual restlessness and conflict in Palestine threatening the everyday life of the oldest Christian communities there? In today's video, we'll look into the rich history, culture, and challenges faced by these ancient people. Before we begin, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel so that you never miss a video from us. First, let's take you back to the 1st century CE, when Christianity took its first steps. This era was shaped by the life and teachings of Jesus Christ, who was born in the small town of Bethlehem in Judea. Jesus traveled across towns and villages, teaching forgiveness, compassion, and love. The locals referred to him as the Messiah. His teachings attracted a diverse group of individuals, including women, tax collectors, and fishermen, all groups that were often marginalized in society. After Jesus' execution and resurrection, his apostles, who were also his closest followers, took on the tremendous duty of disseminating his teachings. The early Christians came together at Jerusalem, the location of Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection, and this movement began in the Holy Land, an area of enormous significance to Christians. Since most of the early Christians were Jews, they kept up Jewish traditions while creating new rituals based on what Jesus taught. The foundation for what would eventually become the unique Christian identity that we know today was laid by this mingling of cultures. Early Christian settlements, such as Bethlehem and Nazareth, sprung up around Jerusalem as Christianity expanded. These social gatherings convened for mutual edification, companionship, and prayer. Because it provided the infrastructure needed for Christianity to flourish, the Roman Empire also contributed significantly to the spread of Christianity. But the severe persecution that the early Christians endured only made them more resolute and devoted to the truth. The New Testament book of Acts describes how the apostles went to various places, proclaiming the gospel and founding churches. This new religious movement was often viewed with mistrust by the Roman authorities, which resulted in periods of severe persecution. Nevertheless, the faith continued to spread, thanks in part to the widespread road networks built by the Romans and the shared language of Greek. The philosophy of Christianity was shaped by church councils in the next decades, which established procedures and tenets that would serve as a guide for future generations. Important doctrinal disagreements were settled at the Council of Nicaea in 325 CE, which also served to bring the Christian community together. With time, Palestinian Christians emerged as a pillar of the Christian faith, upholding its precepts in the face of adversities, such as political unrest and invasions. The Byzantine era, 395 to 1453, of the Eastern Roman Empire, witnessed the founding of several Christian settlements and monasteries in the area, which further strengthened the Christian presence in Palestine. Palestinian Christians continued to preserve their cultural identity and religion in the face of several obstacles, such as the advent of Islam in the 7th century, adding to the rich history of the region. Presently, the percentage of Palestinian Christians is tiny, but very active, comprising about 1% to 2% of the total Palestinian population. However, owing to socio-political issues and immigration, their numbers have decreased over time. Geographically, the main cities where Palestinian Christians live are Bethlehem, Jerusalem, and Nazareth. In addition to these, other towns like Beit Jala and Ramallah also have notable Christian populations in them. These areas often host cultural events festivals, and religious observances that reflect the rich traditions of Palestinian Christians. And despite being a minority, their presence is strongly felt in the cultural and spiritual life of the region. But what mostly sets them apart is that Palestinian Christians have a unique cultural identity that blends Christian and Palestinian Arab elements. Aside from speaking Arabic, their traditions reflect their rich history, and festivals like Christmas and Easter are celebrated with deep-rooted customs, including special foods, music, and community gatherings. For instance, the Christmas season in Bethlehem is marked by processions, caroling, and the famous midnight mass at the Church of the Nativity. As the site of Jesus' birth, Bethlehem is a major destination for a large number of Christians throughout the world. Apart from being a historical place, this city is a real community with traditions that flourish, especially during Christmas when pilgrims from all over the world come to celebrate. The Church of the Nativity was built over the location said to be Jesus' birthplace, and it's a major hub for Christian pilgrimage, drawing thousands of tourists annually. One of the biggest churches in the Middle East, the Church of the Annunciation, is a popular tourist destination and a proof of Christian tradition. Nazareth is also significant, being the place where Jesus was raised. This town is noteworthy for its modern Christian community in addition to its biblical past. As families gather to share food and customs, this event honors both their Christian religion and Palestinian identity. An essential component of preserving this identity is family. Strong familial relationships aid in the transmission of folklore and the preservation of customs from one generation to the other. Social or religious festivities and community gatherings strengthen ties between these families and their common history. This sense of belonging is essential for Palestinian Christians, especially in an area characterized by violence and upheaval. Furthermore, the dual identity of Palestinian Christians is reflected in their literature and language. Many often express their Christian religion and background in their poetry, storytelling, and songs, resulting in a lovely blend that appeals to audiences locally and internationally. This diversity of culture is paramount to their tenacity and commitment to maintaining their identity in the face of adversity. This identity is further expressed mainly through art, and Palestinian experiences and faith serve as major sources of inspiration for authors, singers, and artists today. Their community benefits from this artistic expression, which also acts as a vehicle for advocacy by drawing attention to their needs and challenges. And speaking of challenges, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is the main cause of the unfortunate difficulties that Palestinian Christians are facing currently. For many, this circumstance has produced a challenging atmosphere, as restrictions put on people's movement often prevent them from visiting temples and monasteries, which are vital to their spiritual growth. For instance, it might be difficult for a lot of Christians to go to Jerusalem for religious activities, which has an impact on their feeling of community and spirituality. The disruption of customs and the division of families brought by separation and checkpoints further create both physical and emotional barriers for the faithful. Incessant political tensions are also impacting the region negatively. These lead to feelings of uneasiness among natives, as the impulse to go overseas in search of better possibilities is increasing among many Palestinian Christians. The gradual decline in the population raises concerns over the future of this historic region. Also, several families are suffering the loss of fellow family members, and this has a way of lessening the rich cultural heritage that Palestinian Christians provide to the area. But that's not all. Christians in Palestine are struggling financially. A lot of them make their living from tourism, especially in places like Bethlehem, where people travel to see where Jesus was born. However, political unrest has caused variations in tourism, which in turn affects revenue generation. These difficulties were made worse by the pandemic, which resulted in a sharp drop in tourism. There were unemployment losses and economic distress in the neighborhood as a result of the struggles faced by several stores and eateries that rely on tourists. But despite these difficulties, Palestinian Christians have significantly influenced their culture. They have enhanced literature, music, and art by fusing Christian themes with traditional Palestinian institutions. Through their artistic creations, artists such as the well-known author Ibrahim Nasrallah have encapsulated both the Christian and Palestinian experiences. His writing frequently captures the aspirations and hardships of his people, acting as a potent kind of advocacy. Various institutions are also committed to the excellence and inclusivity of the Palestinian region. Notable examples include Bethlehem University and the Dar al-Khalima University College of Arts and Culture, which focus on empowering students through education and the arts. These institutions not only educate but also serve as centers for cultural exchange and dialogue. In addition to education, Palestinian Christians are heavily involved in social services. They run hospitals and clinics that offer healthcare to those in need, regardless of their faith. The Augusta Victoria Hospital in Jerusalem is a prime example of this, providing essential medical services to the local population. This hospital is known for its specialized care and commitment to serving marginalized communities, reflecting the Christian ethics of compassion and service. Their impact is felt globally, influencing Christian behaviors all across the world. Palestinian Christians are building a lasting heritage of customs that are observed in churches all across the world. For instance, comparable celebrations with themes of peace and goodwill have been inspired by the way Christmas is observed in Bethlehem. Their cultural expression also heavily relies on music. Palestinian folk music is frequently incorporated into traditional hymns and modern Christian music, producing a distinctive sound that appeals to listeners locally and beyond. Interfaith projects, which promote communication and collaboration across various religious communities, are frequently a part of humanitarian operations. Organizations that emphasize cooperation in tackling social concerns, such as the Middle East Council of Churches, put out great effort to advance peace and understanding. With an eye on the future, Palestinian Christians are demonstrating incredible capacity, adjusting for humanity despite the difficulties they encounter. By emphasizing education, cultural preservation, and economic growth, their initiatives seek to resurrect their presence in the area. But to guarantee that future generations can prosper in their ancestral country, initiatives that encourage the involvement of younger people in leadership are essential. Several organizations are seeking to empower the youth through skill development, entrepreneurship training, and cultural initiatives. Palestinian Christians are clearing the path for a bright future as they embrace contemporary issues while clinging to their rich history. Since young people are the future generation of leaders who will continue their community's heritage, we must give them special attention. Numerous people and groups are putting up endless effort to promote harmony and cohabitation in the area. However, building understanding and removing obstacles across various faiths requires initiatives that support conversation. This can be achieved through cultural exchanges, community service initiatives, and interfaith discussions that promote connections that go beyond religious differences to emphasize common values. We cannot overemphasize the importance of global Christian unity. Christians worldwide can support those in Palestine in sustaining their presence and adding to the works of peace in the Holy Land. As different media outlets such as social media, novels, and movies continue to share the stories of Palestinian Christians, their prominence brings attention to the challenges and goals of Palestinians, and this encourages empathy and understanding among audiences throughout the world. There can only be hope for a better future when the views of Palestinian Christians are respected and acknowledged. even as more people are becoming aware of their rich history and accomplishments. So, Palestinian Christians remain a strong group with a rich history and culture, and it is only sensible to keep acknowledging and assisting them. I urge you to get to know Palestinian Christians better, provide your support to their cause, and have meaningful conversations with individuals of all religious backgrounds. By working together, we can promote empathy and unity in this difficult world and make sure that the history and customs of Palestinian Christians are preserved for future generations. Before you go, be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so that you never miss a video from us. Thank you for watching,